Okay, so an exponent is a quantity that shows the number of times a given number is being multiplied by itself. An exponential term contains a base and a power. The word power, exponent are the same thing, okay? Everybody with me? 1.4 notes? Okay. So here's an example. This number 2 is times itself 3 times, right? So a shorthand way to write that is 2 cubed, or 8. Because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, right? Okay, in this, a to the n, a is the base and n is the power. Power, exponent, those things are the same. So far, okay? Okay. So, when we're simplifying things that have exponents, we've got some rules to help us, okay? So we're going to kind of go through them. So on this one, the x cubed, based on the definition of the exponent, says I have x times itself 3 times, right? Then I have that times x squared. Do you think the size of the multiplication dot matters? No, right? So they're all being multiplied. So in the end, how many x's do I have being multiplied together? 5. So I could write that as x to the 5th, right? But the point is, can we come up with like a rule or something so that I don't have to write it all out every single time? Could I figure out a way to answer this question without having to write out the 2 all the times? Anyone think they know? Yeah.
Could you just add the 4 and the 8?
Absolutely. That is our first property. If I am multiplying exponential terms with same base, add the exponents. Okay, the key is they have to have the same base. So these x's, I could have just added the 3 and the 2, right? So on this one, the 2 stays the same. But I know that if I were to write them all out, there would be 12 of them because 4 plus 8 is 12. You can use your calculator to go in and actually find that number if you want, but today's all about exponents, so I actually prefer if you leave it like this, okay? Any questions? Okay, so me underlining this and writing it all in caps hasn't mattered yet, but what about this next example?
Would you just add the v exponents together and then put the y in the front?
So you could put the y in the front. Normally we like, and Canvas, because it doesn't have a brain, we like to put things alphabetically. So but you're right, I'm not gonna add all 3 of the exponents because the y is a different base. So I can add the v's together though, and I get v to the 8th, and then y to the 7th. Good. So the y didn't change at all, the y to the 7th, because there was no other y base. And I can't combine these, okay? How do I know when I'm done? I only have one of every letter and one of every number. Okay? Good? Now, do you guys agree with me that these are the same thing? Do you see that these are the same thing? Okay? So that's going to help with this next one, okay? Because what's confusing about this one is that some people think those are tied together because there's no dot between them. But the dots for multiplication are not what tie things together. What is our symbol in math that makes things tied together? Parentheses. The only time, good job, the only time things are tied together in math is when they're in parentheses. So this and this are the same thing, okay? Now here's why that matters. Because you don't have to write this down, just watch, okay? What's 5 times 10? What's 10 times 5? Multiplication has this property. It's called commutative. I don't care if you know the vocab word. All it means is that the order you multiply things in doesn't matter. So the reason that's going to help me down here is because I want to rearrange it so that my numbers are together and my letters are together. And I'm allowed to do that because it's all multiplication. Okay? Doing okay? All right. These are different bases. So I can't add their exponents. That's not the rule, right? It has to be the same number. So I'm actually just going to multiply them together. 3 times 2. Okay? How am I supposed to add exponents together when one of them doesn't have an exponent?
Isn't it what you did in the first bit where it was all the x's together?
Okay, so how many x's does that count as?
3.
3 total, but how many does just this one?
1.
Yeah, so if there's no exponent, it might help to draw the invisible 1 in. Okay? So then good, there's 3 total. So 6x cubed. Okay. Questions?